Hello, vinyl community, it's Brian. Today I'm going to do a contest entry. I have actually been doing fewer contest entries than I did early on in the vinyl community, but when I saw this one, I realized I had to do it because the parameters fit my collection very well, and so I thought, yes, I will do this one. And I'm also doing it because I like the channel that it's for, and so I thought I would go ahead and add another contest. So this is for Block's Sonic Wafers. That's a guy called Robert, and he has a Block's Power Trio contest. So you'll see there's 3 artists that are featured in this contest. This is a guy that likes rock, prog, jazz, Cajun, blues, Zydeco, etc. Very interesting channel. I've been watching his channel for a little while, and I kind of like his style. So I thought I would get in on this and do this. And one of the amusing things is that the prize is for a gift card for Alvin's Mortuary and Funeral Parlor, or you can choose an Amazon gift card. That kind of gives you a clue on the kind of humor that this guy has. Yeah, I don't know if I would choose the mortuary. I might choose the gift card, but not that I'm doing this for the prize. I'm doing it because I like the contest. So in this case, he's asking us to first of all go to Rachel's Ghosts channel and make a video for her contest, which I've already done. So that also encouraged me to go through with this because that part is already done. Second thing is to give a shout out to a smaller deserving channel, and so I've decided to give a shout out to Greg at 3 Dimensions of Music. It's a channel I like to watch. He's a very cool, laid-back guy who, shows us the things that he's gotten on vinyl or CD, and he has a very cool style. I just like watching what he's getting because I think it's really interesting to see what people are finding. So I recommend his channel if you want to check him out. So there's 3 last parts to this contest, revolving around 3 artists, and the idea is to show 3 albums from each of these artists that they have played on, or that they have recorded with, or maybe cover versions in either direction, like things that they have covered or other people have covered them. And so the first artist that Robert is suggesting is Adrian Belew. So as you know, if you're in Discogs and you type in an artist's name, you get that little number that shows you how many releases that artist is associated with. And when I type in Adrian Belew, I get the number 75. Now that sounds like a lot. I know some of them are duplicated, so I have some things on CD and some things on vinyl, so those show up twice. But I do have a lot of Belew, as many people would, because he's appeared so many places. He's appeared on Talking Heads records. He played with Paul Simon, Nine Inch Nails, Frank Zappa, King Crimson, obviously, Jerry Harrison. There's a long list of people he's played with. So it's likely that there's some release in your collection from Adrian Belew. So I decided to skip his solo records and move on to some other things. And I thought I'd start first with some Canadian content. And this is a guy called Scott Merritt. Now, I would be surprised if many people have heard about Scott Merritt if you don't live in Southern Ontario. He's originally from Brantford, I believe, and this is his 3rd record called Gravity is Mutual. Now, Adrian Belew appears on 3 tracks on here as a guitarist, which blows my mind. I just don't understand how this happened because this is from 1986, and by this point, Belew had already recorded with King Crimson. He toured with Bowie. He'd been with the Talking Heads, so he was a really big name, I guess maybe in certain quarters, but yet he managed to, I don't know how Scott managed to get him to do this record. He's listed on the back here as one of the guests. So really interesting. I don't know how that happened, but this is a really interesting record. I think you'd call this guy maybe singer-songwriter, though he has a band, obviously, and with a hint of new wave, perhaps. Overworked and Underprivileged is a track that you might want to check out if you want to hear what it sounds like. There's some other really cool songs in here, and this is on Duke Street Records, which is a well-known, smallish Canadian record label. So that's the Canadian for part 1, and then for the second one, for Belew, I thought I would choose a record from his band called The Bears, sometimes called Adrian Belew and the Bears. This is from 1986, is that right? 1987, I think. And so this would be a good record to listen to if you wanted to hear Belew's really quirky guitar style. It really comes to the fore on this record. There's 4 guys on this record. I think they put out 4 records in total, and there was a big gap between some of the records, but IRS Discs. I like this. This is a pretty good record. If you see this, you might see this cheaply. You might want to pick it up if you want to hear some Adrian Belew guitar work. This is cool. I think as many people know, Belew toured with Bowie, so this is the stage record, and the listing of the band has, Carlos Alomar, rhythm guitar, Adrian Belew, lead guitar. There's all these stories circulating about how Bowie and Belew met, and I don't know which one's true and which one's not, but they sound interesting. So this is from 1978, and I think, lots of people know this record has a pretty good track listing. So that's Belew. And the second artist that Robert asked us to talk about is Tony Levin. So when I go into Discogs and type in his name, I get 72. The number 72 comes up. Levin and Belew intersect a couple of times. They appeared in the 80s version of Crimson and the later Double Trio, but I didn't choose any of those. I thought I would choose something that maybe is forgotten, possibly. And that is that he played bass on this John Lennon-Yoko Ono record, Double Fantasy from 1980. Lennon's big comeback. And, of course, we all know the tragedy that happened shortly after this record came out. But Levin does appear in here, so I think it's kind of interesting that he played with a former Beatle. This is half of this record is good, maybe. I'm sorry, that sounds mean, but I do like some of the tracks on here, and some of the tracks I don't love, but it's a good record. Okay, so for Canadian content, for Tony Levin, I'm going to choose a record from 1985 from Gowan called Strange Animal. I think it's probably impossible to have lived in Canada in 1985 and not have heard any of the tracks from here. It was everywhere, partly because of video. A Criminal Mind and Strange Animal were pretty much everywhere on video shows and the radio. The interesting thing about this record is that the backing band is essentially Peter Gabriel's band. So Tony Levin, David Rhodes, and Jerry Marotta back up Gowan on this record, with some other people. But this is a very good, I guess, pop record. It's his third record. His real name is Lawrence Gowan. Now, later in his career, he ended up as the replacement singer for Styx. So I didn't really follow that. I don't know if they released any studio recordings, but he toured with them. And at certain points, the band would actually play Gowan songs in concert. But, he's a very good musician. He's a keyboardist. So, this is a pretty good record. It's a pop record. This is the only one of his I have. I don't have the rest, but it's an interesting record, and Tony Levin is on it. For the third Tony Levin one, I'm going to go to an album from 2002. This is Heathen from David Bowie. So this one is on clear vinyl. This came out in 2002, but this is a repressing from a number of years later. I just can't remember the date. And this, to my mind, is a really fantastic later day Bowie record. So many good tracks on here. Although I will say that the cover of Pixies' Cactus is not as good as the original. I'm sorry about that, but it's just not as good. This is good, and Tony Levin appears on this record. Okay. So what's next? Okay. For the next one, it's Show 3 Albums with Jim Keltner. So Jim Keltner is a very famous, I guess, session drummer. And again, when I type his name in Discogs, I get something like 55 or something like that, which surprised me. I didn't realize I had that many recordings that he took part in. So same rules apply for the other two, and I'm going to start with a Canadian artist. This is Bruce Coburn, Nothing But a Burning Light. This is from 1991. Now, this is actually a really difficult record to find because it was only pressed in 1991, and there were no Canadian pressings as far as I know. This is from the Netherlands, I believe. But Bruce Coburn is a kind of Canadian icon. He's released more than 20 records, 25. I'm not sure how many he's released. And I guess in the early days, you'd call him like a folk artist, and he became more political. He wrote a lot of political songs. He does have songs that have more of a harder edge to them, but I guess you would say folk is probably where he is. I've met him many times, on two occasions, and I've seen him in concert. I can't even remember how many times I've seen him in concert. Eight times maybe. Always an interesting show. And Jim Keltner plays drums on 6 tracks on this record. So it's pretty good. I like it. The second, keeping with the 90s theme, I'm going to show a record from 1990, which also features Jim Keltner, and that's the Volume 3 from the Traveling Wilburys. He appears here on drums and percussion. So again, I don't think I have to tell you who the Traveling Wilburys are. But I probably like the first record better, but this is good. There's a sleeve. And that's what the label is like. So good record. And that's the, that version is the original Canadian pressing from 1990. And I thought I'd stick with the 90s for the last one that I have here for Jim Keltner, and that's Bob Dylan's Time Out of Mind, originally released in 1997, though this is a repress from a little later. And this, I think, is a fantastic a fantastic Dylan record. I really like it. And this particular version has the bonus 7-inch single, and it's on 2 records. Yep. So, fantastic record from Dylan. So that's it. 9 records for the Power Trio contest from Block's Sonic Wafers, and you should definitely go and see what's going on his channel. And again, go and have a look at Greg's channel. Thanks very much for watching. I'll talk to you later. To the addendum, where I'm going to talk about statistics regarding the number of contests I have entered. So the first line chart shows a representation of the number of contests I've entered over the period of time that I've been in the vinyl community. January was a part month because my first video came partway through January, and you can see that there's a subtle increase in the number of contests I entered, peaking in March, and then a huge drop off in April where I entered fewer of them. Not because I didn't enjoy doing them, because I probably had other things to do, or maybe felt that I was entering too many contests. Slight uptick in May, and then you can see it drops off nicely towards June. For those who like a different kind of visualization, the next bar graph shows the same data, just arranged differently, and you can see a peak in March. Finally, we have 2 images about comparisons between the number of contests and the number of overall videos that I made. So the first line graph shows the blue line is the number of, we saw this before, the number of contest videos I made, and the red line above is the number of total videos. So they diverge quite significantly around April. And then finally a bar chart, which does the same thing. And you can see that in March, for sure, most of the videos I made were contest videos. But by the time we get to June, there's actually hardly any contest videos. So that was really for my information, but maybe also for yours. But thanks for watching.